Okay, I'm going to channel a message now because I was just starting to feel so much energy in the body. Um, I'm also just like separated from my husband. Not like actually separated, I mean, like we're not in the same room right now. We're doing different tasks. So, motivated by my prolonging and missing for him in a way to really utilize what I'm doing right now, it felt like a good time to just go ahead and channel a message that really grounds in and allows me to ride the wave of not just energy but emotion. And again, there is this sort of energetic maintenance that needs to be maintained in order for me to have a higher quality of life and to really feel like I am still really where I am. So we're just gonna go ahead and do some real deal tarot, really just do some real deal channel messages. And I've already pre-shuffled and cut my deck, and I have no idea what at the bottom of the deck really is there, but I presume that the general theme of the bottom of the deck is exactly what needs to be brought to my awareness, or is exactly what I am looking to share this time. So at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Nine of Cups. Yeah, as wild of a weekend as Dennis and I have had, we really had this sort of lift-off moment where, that being the source and at the center of our own lives is really starting to separate us from the regimented flow of how some of the universal energies will push things along and forward. So, what does that mean? Well, essentially, for so long in our studies while we were learning and attuning ourselves to the natural cycles of our individual lives and our life that we share together, oftentimes we would find that, the cycles and the seasons and the times in which it would take for us to achieve certain things or get to certain conclusions or heighten consciousness was always in a specific timing, and there is this distinct breaking up of, or as I would call it, really like a liftoff from sort of that axis to one that really comes from the awareness that the subconscious mind has been just as programmed as the conscious mind has been for both of us, and now we are able to really take in and internalize and believe in the Nine of Cups. And right now we are witnessing just very different timelines and very different assignments that others might have at this time in life that are separate of ours, that really illuminate this exact truth, that this is taking place, and that, where we are, the footed place that we really stand in is the best place to really be. So when we talk about the Nine of Cups, we talk about, a lot of times I really think of this as like my premier card, the amount of people you're able to service, the amount of supply that you can offer based on a certain level of demand, based on your own sufficiency. And so I have a feeling that though it may not feel like it, I think that this is kind of one of those readings where I need to really focus on and talk about how energetic upkeep and maintenance will be the deterrent in how you are able to remain in the understanding and the actual reality of things. So, like this morning, I really acted on a connection and an opportunity that I think would only really come from just like me being aware that I'm at, that I've had the transformation that I've had in order to like really be able to take something on or to invite sort of this energy. And now to be able to know that, to be able to have experienced that, and to not move into, but there is a sort of energy where it's like to not become into self-deprecating, to not have sort of an idle mind, you know what I mean? And think that, that, or to lose the groundedness of the things that it is that we are doing is kind of going to be the most important aspect of this right now. So a lot of different channel messages, but that's kind of the overview. Page of Pentacles, exactly. So this is kind of exactly what I was going on to say. There are, these seeds that get planted, especially when I'm in this place of awareness where I really see truthfully, like, just how clear it really is, like what I'm offering, what I can do, what I'm available for now that I've transformed, now that I stand on, the home or the temple that's been built. And, I saw this quote today that says, like, when you drop the act, the earth, like, really is showing up for you, open and wet and ready, if you will. And that's exactly the reason I really think back to it, is because when you drop the act and just show up in, just the reality of what your value is, the earth really can respond with this open receptivity. And you might feel like, wow, how is this, how it happens? And the reality is just there's no longer the self-conscious fears. Exactly. And then there comes the judgment card, right? So when you act on that, right, it's the type of energy where it's like the judgment being so swift, so unanimous, so almost relaxed even, makes you realize how much this is that intuitive need that would have allowed for something like this to come in. It really makes you think about what it takes in order to incite an energy like that. Exactly. And then there's the communication, right? There's all the communication. And it's so crazy because when I look back on my life, like I said, a lot of this right now for me is motivated by, like, the circumstance that I'm living right now. And I would really denote as, like, horrible for me. And it's not coming from an ungrateful place or not a gratitude space, but, like, I am in complete surrender. Like, nothing in my life right now, none of my living environment right now is anything that I would, like, choose for myself in terms of, like, if I wasn't in, like, a survival mode, like, transitioning space. So it can be very difficult for me to feel, like, on tangent with a lot of things for myself. So a lot of, not desperation, but a lot of the motivation for me to get through or burn through whatever consciousness I need to burn through in order for my sanity to stay, at bay, stems from the discomfort, honestly. But I think it was only through this level of discomfort that I would have actually, done things like finish my documentary series, right, that's available here on this channel, that I would continue committing to this space as if my life depended on it, and I think there were certain goals that I needed to reach before a certain level of comfort and leisure can be introduced, which might affect, like, like if you're starving, how hard you might work to make $1 versus if you're not, right? So those are all real things that I feel like I am experiencing at this time. But this is, like, the surefire way where spirit is really letting me know that, like, it's exactly what you think. And instead of, because the reality is they come in with this offer because they recognize, they see you as the fish that you are. They see you as what you see yourself as, which is why you initiated it. You know what I mean? And I think, too, for me, another thing that's been very obvious is there's been, like, a lot of timelines. There's been a lot of times where I've thought, like, it was time to introduce other partnerships, other things into what I'm doing, but I hadn't yet finished, like, the initial amount of, like, my own body of work and finished building my own foundation before I was doing that. So, this is a long process, probably longer than any human mind would, like, anticipate. But, is getting into this conversation with Dennis about how the reality of things is, like, if it wasn't grueling and difficult and so one of one, and we didn't almost die a million times while we were trying to put together this archive or, create the worlds that my husband and I have created, we probably also, had we seen any success from it, really struggled at some point with feeling like, what is special about what we do? Like, it could have been just, like, luck, fate, maybe just the right person giving us something, and it wouldn't have felt deserved. So, that kind of energy of, like, not, like, the easier it is, the less worth it it'll probably be. And so anything that's really worth having in life is really, really, really going to take, like I said, that work. And I feel like that's so pivotal right now. Like in moments where I am feeling alone or feeling like I just have to do what I have to do, or, I am just kind of with my hands tied, unable to make a different move for myself. It is in those moments where I realize that the difficulty of even just committing to this place, committing to producing this work, committing to my identity as an artist, when there are so many times when it feels like it does not fucking matter that I hold that identity in the world that I live in. How could that be of any importance? It's a page of cups. It's that seed of belief. It's that investment of belief that is felt within self and then externally validated, that can give reason to why we would endure such an experience. Yeah. And I feel like the final two cards that are coming out in this are King of Swords and the World, meaning, this offer, because look, this is an investment in self, but this is also offering that. This is also like I validated internally that I am at this place. I'm past the 10 Pentacles. I am now able, after having built my 10 of Pentacles, I am now able to know where it goes outside of me, right? Because the ace to the 10 is always this sort of internal journey within self that we're building up to then therefore be able to govern externally in our own domain, right? And so when we talk about a Page of Pentacles being ready to do what a Page of Pentacles does, it can go to a foreign land, it can go to an unfamiliar space or territory and stand in its value, right? Versus, when you're developing your within the Pentacle suit or within any suit, you have to really remain within your region, within yourself in order to do this work. And this is really that time where, no one will call that whistle for you. There isn't an astrologer or a reader that could help me like me right now in terms of knowing when the whistle was going to blow for me and when it was going to be this energy and this time for someone like myself. Again, we're just getting so much. And I think, again, even though the Page of Pentacles is a phase, is a point, is a period in the Kingdom suit, the Page of Pentacles really being, like I said, that self-awareness, that like the premonition of like, the Page of Pentacles has the self-belief to go on the journey, but not because they've necessarily been affirmed by God, such as like the Knight of Pentacles has. So like, look how much faster you can go when you really, really know you're doing the right thing. Like right now, I feel like Spirit's trying to enable me because I know right now I feel like I'm wobbling forward with like what, the value and the next step might be for someone like myself. However, you do have this awareness in the Page suit that it's like, okay, I do know though that what people can't take away from me is that I did do the 10 Pentacles. And that I think is different than sort of a Knight of Pentacles or a King of Pentacles, which involves other people validating, and by other people I really mean like source validating through others that what you have is actually a value. This is the point where it's like, well, I do know I just made 10 Pentacles, and that's more than some people do. So that's where you stand in the Page of Pentacles. I do know I have done this much, I have done, this is like the person who's like, well, I may not be the most competitive candidate, but having my master's is still something versus nothing. So this is the type of confidence that's like the faith of a mustard seed, or the confidence the size of a mustard seed, that is really kind of all you need, because what's embedded in that mustard seed is like the proven work. And I feel like that's such a big backbone of this energy. So you start with, this feeling, this premonition, this awareness that it is time to drop the wall and really trust that, again, with the Gemini season fluidity, I think the most fluid part of Gemini season is how much exactly we aren't aware that it's going to change even bigger. A lot of what me and my husband have thought up until this point is that we were going to be in certain places, or that we were going to be staying certain places long term, and then those things weren't working. And so before we really decided that like maybe that could mean that like it's very mutable where the destination might actually end up being for he and I, we would just like really be putting ourselves through a lot of trauma about why things aren't coming. But a lot of times, like I said, one of the biggest communications from the divine is like things that just like are not moving forward, are not happening, really tell you like this is just not for you, you know. So altogether, maybe the space, maybe the place. So I'm getting that energy with Gemini season. Why I quickly like it's like I'll do something and then it quickly like it really won't matter. I could have been really passionate about completing or doing the thing that I was doing, but it really won't matter to me that deeply why or what I'm doing. So this to be in this place and to have incited that and to know that like yeah, you know, sometimes I get depressed because especially where I am right now and where my husband is right now, like it has really nothing to do with the future of our lives directly. So much, in fact, that it can be very hard because like we'll do these very heavily guided things, very synchronistically supported things that are the next steps on our path, and it's not like anyone in our environment right now is going to be able to support that knowingness. Like, you know, it's like, you know, if you buy a new car and it's a good idea for you, maybe you'd want like your partner or your job or whoever to really validate that experience for you. But what if no one can, and then you kind of feel shaky about like, why did I just do that, or why would I, you know, type of thing. So it is even more challenging, but I believe it is only because of the size of this Ace of Pentacles and what it does and where it takes you to, that does the most. Because here you go, again, with this Page of Pentacles mentality, which is not a loose investment, it's not a smaller investment, it's just about where you are in the process, which means like, look, I don't have a kingdom or stature or a lot of other things externally yet that could validate the proof of what I have. But the page becomes the King of Pentacles, indubitably. The king was once a page. And so the thing that validates the page is that, like, of course, like, I don't have the kingdom yet, and it's not a codependency. It's about the fact that, like, but in order to be the candidate to have the kingdom, you would have to be the person that has done the work, and that's really what separates kings from the peasants or the civilians that live in the kingdom, right? Is that there's a level of work in terms of, you know, the matriarchal system or, you know, the royal system that they have to live in, and if you don't really care to like become a king, then you wouldn't be doing that work. And so this is someone who's saying, and in their journey, like, I am very much willing, ready, and able to step into the king. And in fact, I have done the work of that. I am just merely in the phase where the kingdom grows from this point. So knowing this has to be submitted, knowing this has to be somewhere you stand, knowing this has to be a place you start. And again, you know, I've been really leaning into, you know, like, life is long, and I've been, like I said, I've been in a like I said, Dennis and I took the suffering route. So we've been going through such a difficult 7-year period together, probably the most difficult of our relationship at this time. That will probably never be repeated because of just like how our ascension is going and how we've been realigned since the awareness of the struggling that we're living within. But this is the type of thing that I need to be aware of and prepared to understand is exactly the thing that is wrapping up my cycle, that is now taking me from this environment that I'm filming in. And again, I can't help but feel, you know, the sentimentality and the attachment to where I am right now, because this feeling, and I will be as transparent as I can be, is horrible because the state that I'm in is of no real choosing. Like, and when I say no choosing, like, there are boundaries that I'm not willing to compromise. There's value that I've come into that like affords me certain luxuries in life. So no, I'm not saying that I am in some of the same places, maybe that even at different points in the Virgo channel I was in. But it is really important for me to connect sentimentality, like the sentimentality of the fact that like being in this place and recording this into my history will remind me of the miracle that happened in my own life because of my own willingness to follow the divine transformation that was meant to happen for me and my husband. And so to be in this place right now and to be looking at the environment that I'm looking at, and to know that a lot of this will be like washed away in the sand, that the home that I'm sitting in right now may not always be connected to our family. So some of these memories, like in real time, that I'm looking at will not exist again for me. And I'm only 27 years old right now. So to look around and to be feeling the gutted feelings I feel, the nuanced feelings I feel, the hardships that I feel, the limitations and restraints that I feel, if I were to connect to the part of myself that feels the ephemera of this moment, of this time period where things could look so different in 20, 30 years, and if I can archive for myself these memories so that I don't miss them, but so that I live them, so that they're active, and that I know that when I graduated past this phase of my life, it's like there isn't this nostalgia. Like, I really don't want to create a sense of nostalgic being for myself, because the reality is like the present moment should be grounded, your highest aspiration at all time, or at least that's my goal in my day-to-day life, is that like the planted 2 feet that are on the current ground that I'm standing should at some point have answered something for me. And I can attest to the fact that that has happened, now, but I can't help but feel the sense of like the final days of this experience, the final days of this phase, and especially because of the things that I've done and the ways that I have kept moving, and the ways that when I get these intuitive signs, I don't really let the reality of the world shape at all what I feel like I'm going to do, or whether or not I listen to it, whether or not I follow, that direct guidance and that direct teaching. And so because I did that, and I think sometimes, like, I'm always like a brain buster, because like, again, there isn't much interference with God's word in terms of my obedience. So I will be in experiences and positions where there isn't much resistance to what needs to be done. So a lot of times I find myself like just in the rest and the relaxation. Like, I think the way that my Aqua Sun really supports my Taurus Moon is that it'll just do what needs to be done, so that there's less time in discomfort, or less time overdoing, or overworking in any particular way. But right now I can definitely note that there are moments and memories being shared that need to be shared, within our family, within our personal lives, and that need to be marked. And that I think there needs to be this physicality of visiting how difficult or easy or loving or not loving the realities are right now for our interpersonal relationships, in order for us to know that once some of these bigger tower moments really enact and really take place, that things really won't be the same, because we've got judgment coming up very shortly here. And the judgment card really talks about, getting prepared. Like, it talks about, again, like, I'm a filmmaker, so the drama and the timing of my higher self is also something. Like, I'm going to write my life story as a good story, especially because I'm a documentarian, so a lot of my work is autoethnographic. A lot of it is about my life. All of it is about my life in so many ways. But to know that this archetype here is what follows the Page of Pentacles, which is an immediate judgment. It's like, in my case here, I can give the example. I was, I was submitting something to this institution for review. And they kind of always have an open, like, if you're interested in partnership, like, you just send whatever what you want to propose. Page of Pentacles, right? So I just do that. But this says, you're the type of Page of Pentacles, like, you do this, and then the judgment is made. You get what I'm saying? And the judgment, again, the final call, when we talk about all deeds being recorded, when we talk about why you get a second life. Because again, in judgment, I think there's a lot to be said. There, we talked about that death parade. So this is the point where, because we're kind of all living in that sort of, it's like Jesus in the tomb for 3 days, right? Like that period where nothing was going on, there was no exact revival or whatever that anyone could expect. So it was just dead and done. It was endedness, right? So I feel like there is this notable endedness that if I actually disassociate from like where I'm standing and really come higher up, I can notice that I'm about to have my moment where everyone who's in these tombs, who's in their own death cycle, is going to see that my husband and I are getting, if you will, like a crane claw coming out of the sky and taking us to a different fate, essentially saving us, essentially giving us new life. This is that moment. This page of Pentacles is the seed of that will regrow, because it's like, imagine if you're in a death cycle, but right before you do that, you plant this little seed so that you don't have to lie down with the dogs. In fact, this archangel is going to come, blow its horn, and summon you to come up and have a new life, repopulate, and say, actually, everyone is going to have to go through this, but you actually are the one that we're going to use our manifesting energy. We're going to blast you with all of these opportunities to create. 8 of Wands to me is the craziest, because this is infinite potential. It's aggressive, fast moving. It's as if someone says, like, here are 8 opportunities to creative direct, which means within each of those 8 opportunities, with Wands, the thing is it's like a genie. You can choose. If the genie gives you 3 wishes, some people would wish for more wishes forever. That's kind of the wand suit. Like, the ability to be able to keep creating magic is also a resource. So when we talk about, like, you may have to wait for some higher power to grant something for you, but when you've mastered magic, when you are in that sort of magician sort of sphere, when you know how to maneuver that, or when the 8 of Wands comes and finds you, it's about, like, with the proper knowledge, with the proper consciousness, you can propagate pretty much anything across the board, whether your desire is for more swords, more pentacles, more cups, more wands, whatever. You can create anything with this. So look how all of these spud new growth. Do you get what I'm saying on these branches? That's the point, is that it's so much coming back to you. So much coming back to you. And the best part is that this will be utilized in order for you to call in one of your biggest desires. And again, this is going to be crazy, because we talk about on this channel how much you would have needed to be this like level 10 assassin in order to be where you are right now. Because even taking this opportunity for me today only came from a million different diversions and mini side loops and side tasks that I was having to do in order to just even stand here and get to this point where it's really just a matter of like divine right timing, divine preparedness, and maybe not even preparedness in like, oh yeah, everything's always going to be outright like I prepared for it. Like sometimes failure, sometimes loss, sometimes grief can be the best preparation to build the God strength needed to actually be able to seize an opportunity like this for yourself when you were really ready to do it. So again, when I think of this 8 of Swords coming after a judgment, it is a very big deal, because I think the judgment's going to be that center stage moment where everyone who is here will know that you are the one that is ascending and gets offered that sort of second life, that new life. Because when this old world crumbles and goes down with all of the energies that are needing to sort of die out now, we really get to see firsthand who kept that faith. Who did God have in their mind? Oh, for sure I'm coming for Alexis and Dennis. I'm for sure about to take them straight up. This is a big deal. This will be such a renewable experience, and I feel like all of these moments where, I don't always have the outright awareness, although if I dropped into meditation and really tried to connect with my higher self more often, I could give myself more relief and more compassion for what I'm going through right now, because I know this will never happen again. I know that some of this stuff may be going down in like tower moments, very shortly. And I may not always be thinking about it, and I can be so human centric and so egocentric that it's like I'm only thinking about my suffering. But this is why that capacity in the chambers of the heart being developed out allow you to have some relief, allow you to have some mastery at this time. Because if you can't think of anything other than your own suffering at this time, it's the reason why you're probably not being able to relieve yourself of what is taking place. So for you to be the Page of Pentacles, it's like, I know I turn into a king because I've already opted into doing the work to have a kingdom. And though I may not be like sitting in my finalized kingdom yet, like that is what I am. The judgment is called on that. The judgment is like absolutely, because again, we just lived in we live in an opt-in universe. Nobody gets chose. You just choose it. If you want it, then do it. If you want to have your own kingdom for yourself, if you want to be someone who's situated and has this sort of a level of abundance that flows to you, or has a level of love available to you in your life, then you've got to choose to do the work to have that, and it'll always come. It can't not come. I can't be putting in the work to be the wife, to have a healthy relationship, and that not follow, because I would be making the grade in terms of the report card I get from, my husband, or, I can't be, you can't be making the grade in school and then not, if you've made straight A's every day, every semester in school, and then by graduation, you will be magna cum laude, you know what I mean? It's the kind of energy like that, where that's really the nature of the universe, and so many people play this victim concept of like they really just want someone to come save them from what's going on, and Spirit is really reminding you of this creative force, this creative nature of the womb of the universe that we really live in. And so it's the most important aspect and the most important part of things that I feel like we tend to neglect the most, but super, super pivotal, super, super important to remember. And, that's all I can really say about what I'm doing here, and how much like it is very helpful, because I know that although the people that it may really, really support, who could really, really benefit from this kind of work being like mapped out already, I may never really be connected to me, but for me, as my own record, just knowing that this is how I cite my work, this is the product. Like, do you know how easy it was for me to step into a Page of Pentacles? If I was being called by God today to be in a Page of Pentacles, and I didn't actually have it concisely put together, sort of Eight of Pentacles style, like, here it is, this is the home of where I keep record of what I've done in this time. It's the only thing that has also kept me safe during spiritual attack, where people are like, you haven't done anything, you're not doing anything with your life. And I'm like, okay, I can take that in with a grain of salt, and I can understand that that's their perception based on what I reveal to them, or what they're able to see based on their consciousness. But it doesn't actually have anything to do anything, because I come home to Virgo St. North Node and myself every day, and I'm like, right, but there's 101 videos here purely produced of extemporaneous public speaking and divine wisdom and knowledge that I offer based on my process in building this empire for myself, that will literally never go away, that literally cannot be erased. The same way that your degree, no one can take it from you if you get a degree, your marriage is your marriage for you. If nobody can unmarry you, you know what I'm saying? So these intangibles, when I was really threatened at this time, like, this is why I really pray for people at this time, because I know that, like, with the negativity being so turned up at this time and being so prevalent for across the board, again, those physical things, again, this is why the tethered experience is so important, because it's not just about what you think you can bring down, or what you maybe can be able to invisibly manifest for yourself. It's also about moving the body with that, moving your physical reality in tandem with some of these more virtual realities that we have, or virtual currencies that we can all possess, right? It's so fundamental to really do that work with yourself and on yourself, purely for the fact that, oh my gosh, baby, come here, Beans. I was literally starving and having a stroke, but I'm recording a message right now for us.
Oh, that's so good. That's I'm happy to hear.
You were working hard down there?
Yeah, it's still going. It's getting.
I was hearing some screams and some.
It's getting slowly to about the stuff, but yeah, it's.
Okay. Well,
But,
I'm going to
South Beach,
pause this
great.
move. Well, that's our message.